2, 1.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are across the world. Welcome you again to another rather cold and snowy evening in London. But we're going to get right away from that because we're going to look at some more menswear from Paris. And tonight it is Dior Homme. And before we look at it, I would like to ask my guests to very sweetly tell us what they think you need to know about them.
I am Natalie Theo. I'm a stylist at Dressapy, which is an online recommendation site that merges ridiculously clever technology with fashion advice. And I also have my own site and blog called The Fashion Chronicles, and I'm very happy to be dipping into menswear today and borrowing from the boys this evening.
Well, I'm very happy to have you borrowing from the boys.
I'm Gary Aspden. I'm a brand consultant working predominantly with Adidas. I recently set up a brand consultancy agency called Mary.
Called?
Mary.
Mary. There must be a story behind that. We might come to that. Okay.
I'm Helen Bullock, and I'm an illustrator and a textile designer. And I've been doing all the illustrations at the moment for SHOWstudio, for all the menswear.
Lots of lovely ones.
Many of them.
I'm James Brown, I'm a hairdresser and I have a brand called James Brown London.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's sweet. Okay, so let's have a look at one or two of the opening shots, as it were. Right, let's move over. Another one.
Great waists and shirt, but you know, not so sure about that for menswear.
Well, the first thing that possibly you can't necessarily clearly see, but we have looked at it very closely, is the fact that the jackets are zipped. So they're quite formal jackets, but instead of having a button fastening, they're zipped. Do we feel that's just a gimmick, or do we feel that that could be a move that guys would actually rather like?
I think if you're fashion forward, you're going to like it. I think the traditional guys, aren't really going to go for a zip. I just think it's a step too far for them. But I think if you're really into your fashion, yes, you're going to go for it. But I think it's like everything, and once it's on the runway here and then it translates into the high street, then it will take a year or so, or you know what it's like before you see everyone wearing zips down the jackets. But it's funny because there's a guy in my village in Ireland, a farmer, he has a zip and he always wears a belt over his overcoat, really? And I always think he looks fantastic.
Well,
I quite like
he's
it.
an old farmer, he looks amazing. Sorry.
No, I think it's quite an easy one to follow.
Well,
and I think it makes it a little bit more casual as our bag.
That's it, isn't it, you see, because what he's done is he's conflated casual and formal, because the suit looks pretty standard formal suit, and then he's made it casual with a zip. Or has he, Gary? Do you think it's made it casual necessarily, or is it just a suit with a zip?
No, it's as I'm sitting here, my immediate thought was, I'm surprised somebody hasn't thought to do that before. The only issue I have with it really is that when I wear kind of suit jackets, I prefer a one-button jacket, because when you have sort of 3 buttons and it's up here, it can look quite flat and boxy. So that'd be my only comment on it. But as far as using a zipper, I think that doesn't offend me at all. I think that's kind of interesting.
It's a cute gimmick, but I would hope that if I'm looking at this purely from a commercial money-making point of view, it's a lovely silhouette on that jacket, and I'm sure the more traditional guy would like to buy it, but perhaps be a little bit afraid of having a zip to deal with on a regular. So I'm sure it's something that would be fleshed out a little bit in his.
One of the difficulties is you can make a jacket quite informal if you don't fasten it. Here, you've not got a choice, because if the zip isn't a zip that's completely open, is so casual. It fights with the concept of a suit.
But it's quite.
Maybe we need to think again about the concept.
But what about the belting? Does it have to, like, without a belt? Is that still going to do anything?
No, because the very first one, if we go back to the very first one, That is also
okay.
zipped.
Okay.
And that is a very traditional shape.
The more straight cut coat with the zip looked great.
It looks fabulous.
It actually fell quite well, but I think, but maybe that's him trying to give his sporty twist to a more, you know, but it's...
It feels quite cardigan-like as well. As soon as you start to, like, I didn't actually notice that zip immediately on there, but as soon as you see that, it starts to feel in a different kind of realm from the suit, something like I say more, kind of a little more everyday, perhaps.
Yeah.
A few of the jackets that I've got personally, you know, you've got these kind of these zippers where it'll be a zipper here but also a zipper here, so you can zip it from both ends.
Yes.
Now this looks like it's just a kind of
Straight
one-way
up.
zipper, if you
Straight
will,
up
you know,
down.
because I quite like that where you can kind of unzip from the bottom and loosen it up around your waistline. But you know, I think the other thing I would say about it as well with menswear is that you want things to sort of be gently nudged along rather than this kind of like complete overhauling of a look. And so something like that is a very subtle way to move something on without it being too much.
It's very high fat, like the small shoulder, the skinny long arm, and the zip, and the nipped-in waist is all a bit too much information for me personally. I think if I could handle, it's just too many elements and just too much for me. You know, I like either a small shoulder, you know, the zip. I'd want a slightly more classic shoulder for myself, and I could then get away with the zip. I just feel like I would be way too old to wear that.
I think what I quite...
you don't.
No,
I do.
you got
I
a good
wouldn't wear
suit.
that many elements in.
What I actually quite
in an
like,
outfit.
the plus side of a zip on a suit is that instead of associating the suit with something formal or something, you know, smarter, this would be great if you took the tie away and loosened up the shirt and you've got a great day suit for day by day. You know, if you want to start embracing much more of a smarter look, which the luxury market is moving towards, you know, you've got the middle market sort of coming out and wanting to buy smarter, more luxurious pieces. They don't want to do the sort of, you know, gangster rap look anymore. They want to spend money, they want to look smart, and this is a great way of doing a day suit.
It'd be interesting to see what this would look like in another colour with the zip.
Yeah, I was wondering that.
That would be the way to really to tell, I think, whether, you know, how it works.
Well, let's move on and see what he does with the zips, or maybe it's just a statement for the first couple. What do we feel about the belts?
Oh, I like
If we go back, that looks slightly Austrian to me, and one of them I know has got epaulettes, which makes you feel it's all just a little sort of, not exactly Hitler Youth, but you know. It's
I'm not a fan of it, but you know,
no,
cute touch. But I'm not really.
I like the belts. I like the belts. I don't particularly like that silver on the front, but I like a belted jacket like that. I like it a lot.
A belted jacket I like, but that sort of shiny belt detail
the shiny
I don't.
the shiny belt.
This is another thing, of course. How many suits? When was the last time did suits ever have belts? I don't think so. So he's bringing in a completely new element again, which is very interesting, you know. Why has no one thought of having a belted suit? There's probably a very good reason, but I don't know.
Not small enough waists.
Oh yeah,
Not working out enough at the gym.
A lot of the equestrian riders who ride for like the Irish Army team who ride horses or the Swiss, they all have jackets very similar to that, very waisted with that sort of belt, and they look so smart when they're on a horse, and they compete like that. So I've seen it on equestrian events, but I have not really walking around in the the street.
I'd say describing it as Austrian, I'd take that as quite a complimentary thing to say. I quite
Oh,
like
yeah.
all that kind of...
I wasn't meaning to be unpleasant, you know, and I think it has got that Austrian military look, you know. Prussian
Yeah, there's
as well.
definitely a uniform military look.
Yes.
With a difference.
Well,
Okay.
even the guy in his hair looks a bit sort of regimental, as it were. Okay, let's see some more, please. Now, I think that's... Oh, no.
Gone.
That one. I think that's still zipped, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this is
zipped,
this is
but
much
it's straighter,
more like
and I
a
like
sort
that.
of car coat sort of zip.
It's
thing,
very
isn't it?
Edwardian, that.
Yes.
The whole
beautiful.
look.
Silhouette.
It's total silhouette. It's so
it's
Edwardian.
not.
Yes,
It's not
it is.
really.
We've gone from sort of, you know, the 40s with the lipped-in belt, and now this has gone very Edwardian, which is I really like that.
I'd
wear that with the zip, totally.
No, why not, Gary?
Yeah, I like that
I'm
coat.
not having this... No, maybe it's just the casting on the model as well, but it's like what I was saying earlier about suit jackets, the fact that it's zipping right up to there, it just looks like a block. You know, yeah, it just looks like a block. And
yes, well,
it doesn't really.
It doesn't do anything. It's really uninteresting. There's not much to say about it, I don't think.
I actually quite like the I like the block plus zip as opposed to the nipped in at the waist plus zip combo.
Totally, yeah. Totally.
All right, let's see what he likes. Let's see which one he goes on with, shall we?
More waist.
The waist. Longer jacket.
It could be so controversial.
Can we keep moving them now? Yeah. We'll stop if we want to. Oh, these are very wasted, aren't they?
They're all of the ones so far very slanted shoulders, like, and these are models that have very square shoulders. Like that's a definite move that he's really slanted the shoulders down.
And there's a lot of interest this year, I think, in sleeves. Because do you remember earlier? I think you were on the panel, Gary, when we were talking about some of them having smock-looking clothes with wide sleeves. You know, like Russian peasant sort of sleeves. And these are very narrow, which I must say I always think it's so chic for both men and for women.
Totally.
As I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, I mean, the belt, I mean, I can wear a belt if it's like a piece of outerwear, but I could never see myself wearing it with a suit. But I think when it almost needs the belt to sort of define it, because that look, the only look that I haven't liked, the one that was previous to it almost looks like that's one of these jackets but without the belt on it.
And actually, as we've said in several of the panels, there's a very definite emphasis on the male inverted triangle, wide shoulders and narrow waist, and all of that sort of moves your eye down to that sort of shape.
Initially I thought, Dior's always quite similar, but now I'm really looking at this image. This is a major move on, like with the shoulder slanted, with a much longer trouser. Although they're still kind of narrow, they're much, much longer. It's a completely different silhouette from a couple of seasons ago when you really analyse it. I'm starting to really, really like what I'm seeing here anyway.
Oh God, excellent. Let's see if we can keep it up. Can't quite see what's happening.
I think the collar is unzipped there, I think, as well.
But it's a
square collar. The jacket zipped right up to the neck? Because that's another step forward, isn't it, that we haven't seen before.
It's a hugely very high neckline. I've not seen that on a jacket before. So.
Well, the Dior man is certainly going to be wearing a suit.
The Dior woman would look great in that.
Oh, I love that.
The pair of heels.
Like that?
Yeah, I really like that.
Tell us why.
I think it's actually quite feminine. That's
I was just going to say, I would see the Dior woman in that with a pair of heels.
I think it's really hard though from a female point of view, sometimes when you're looking at menswear, because you just kind of sometimes either translate it into something that you know
that I'd like to see myself
wearing
it.
Yourself.
That's, for me, way too feminine.
But that's really, so we're all in the that's why we like it.
A big leather belt, it's like...
I wouldn't like to see that on a guy, but I think as a woman, in women's wear...
I think it's really well for guys.
I prefer women in Dior's men's clothes anyway. I think a lot of women look like, a lot of the girls, the models look great in the men's stuff. More than I like it on some men, I must say.
But I'm really shocked that everybody's finding the belt like such a revolutionary thing. Like
on a suit,
put it on a suit.
Yeah, on a suit. But I mean, just in terms of it not like like you said that you'd never wear that, and I find that I'm just really shocked.
No, when we say this is feminine, what are the elements that we think?
I guess it's the wider shoulder and the
waist.
It's creating an hourglass, but a really elegant, sexy hourglass.
You look as if you're not sure about this. But what we're saying.
I mean, like I was saying, I can get with a belt when it's used on outerwear. I just think if I saw somebody wearing a belt with a suit, I might think they were just trying a bit too hard and kind of like over-accessorising something, which, I think is me coming at it from a more a male perspective rather than,
But I just think, I don't feel it's gimmicky. I feel like it's the exact opposite. Like some of the shows that I've seen, there's been like really ridiculous like gimmicks.
This whole look is just Like the hair really slicked and polished. The guy looks like he's never shaved in his life. It's all too feminine. And the sloped shoulders, which is much more feminine. It just reads too feminine. The whole thing. If that was a guy with a beard and a bit of scruffier hair, it might balance the look out, and I'd feel more accepting of it. But that to me looks like, if you didn't see the guy's head, you would think that was a woman's show. It's way too feminine.
But it is very sleek and sophisticated, which is what I think he said.
She'd have big feet.
I know, it's just like
she'd have very big feet indeed, exactly. I think that's
it's very sleek,
That's an overcoat, isn't it? I don't
I think it's a coat.
Yeah.
But I mean, for a coat, it's pretty skinny.
Yes, it is. That's true. That one looks much less feminine to me.
Yeah, it's
that I think is because the coat is shorter.
Yeah,
and
it's
a wider buckle as well.
Epaulets, I think, to make the shoulder, to get rid of the sloping.
It reads masculine straight away. That
maybe it's the guy as well. He seems very tall. Yeah,
and he's
that I think is nice.
Yeah,
you like that? We all like that?
This is fantastic, this coat.
Again, though, it's when the belt's being used as with outerwear rather than a kind of a suit jacket.
Yes.
Are those two-tone sleeves?
No, I think they're just...
Oh, they're not navy with black.
I think they're super shiny. Super
shiny fabric. It looks like it's two-tone.
I don't think they're two-tone.
Because coming up later, I think there's two-tone,
Can you see some more, please?
I have a real problem with, at the moment, with just black.
Well,
it's just
very samey,
it's like a 1980s art director to me, like
James Bond, 1970s.
I just would like to see all these shapes, but slightly, even lighter. A navy blue would have been a bit. Just black is just.
I could have sworn
also
something
a little.
There is navy. I think that is a navy. You drew those.
I know, but I don't know whether I'm allowed to have looked at them before.
We prefer you not to talk together, but
sorry.
talk to our viewers, please.
Sorry. No, I was saying I have seen
jumper.
some of it, and I think there is a bit of tonal.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's a real sort of skinny sweater, isn't it?
That high waist of those trousers is really nice. Like they're much higher waisted. I really like that. But
I think that's great.
Yeah, that's super.
Don't you feel we've seen
Prada
before?
a few years ago.
No.
Yes.
Prada a few years ago. Those trousers, those.
Well, I'm just wondering when he's going to break out of black and when he's going to break out of.
Oh, here you go.
I recognise that symbol.
Sorry, I mean, it's sort of like a laser target practice. I mean,
Gary.
This has no relevance to me or what I'm about, or I just don't get that at all.
Either.
It's
I
don't any element of it. I don't get. The hair's nice, and he's got great skin, but the look is just. I just don't get who would want to. It's like a fencing outfit at school when you used to do fencing.
Yes, you're right.
It just looks like
don't
a mistake,
get it at
like
all.
something's missing.
What do you think's missing?
Well, it's just wrong. The print. It looks. I think.
I don't get that at all.
I think there's something interesting the way that it breaks. So then you have that circle and it's breaking onto the arms. I find that uncomfortable but interesting. But it's very like Star Trek or just very displeasing. But that element is vaguely interesting.
I like it. I wouldn't wear it, but I like it.
Oh no, I don't think. We don't have to say we would wear it.
No,
but would you like it?
Yeah, a lot of the time prints are a little bit kind of all over prints. They're just a bit too much. I quite like them. I feel that those graphics kind of fit with the look of the collection. There's something really kind of quite austere and uniform about the whole thing. And I think, like I say, I think it's good.
Actually, that word austere is.
It's a good word.
That's a good one.
It's
that's
a very
exactly
good word
what that
to
is.
sum it up. Right, let's see if we're going to get any colour.
Lighter. Touch of grey.
Lighter, yes.
Yeah, but then I don't like that collar. I like the kind of grandad collar.
I do like grey though.
This is getting very militaristic. It's because of the grey. Because so many military uniforms around the world
like grey,
are grey and black, aren't they?
It's a bit like a flight attendant for JAL.
Oh
that
dear.
look.
Right.
Chicken or beef, sir?
The proportions are now becoming wrong.
Poulet or beef? I mean, that's just not good at all.
And his shoes look ginormous.
I think
Sorry.
that's a liberal.
I don't get that at all. It's way too many elements again going on. I don't like that.
Okay, he's got the zip in there as well.
That's better. That's
The
really
belt
nice.
works better with the longer line
Totally,
jacket.
yeah.
Much better with the long line jacket. I mean, if you have to belt up, then you might as well do it that
Oh,
way.
how funny! I think exactly the opposite.
Do you?
Yeah,
I
I think
like
it's
it.
when it's the longer length that gets it to begin to look a little feminine in my eye.
Maybe that's
my
why
view.
I like it. But
Well,
it is. It just looks more balanced.
You'd look great in it. I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. If
But
they're
it just looks
listening,
more balanced
If you're
on him.
listening,
I think it's quite
My
nice
good
that
person.
sorry. I think it's quite nice that the pockets seem higher. Is that true or not? Like the pockets
they
are
look like
extra-
it.
I think that's
Yes.
quite a nice detail, perhaps.
And it's still zipped.
It's all
And
about
it's still
the zip.
It's all
The
about
silhouette from the back of the guy in the background is really beautiful silhouette. That shoulder
Yes.
and that nipped
Yes.
waist and the length of the jacket is gorgeous.
We don't think it's moving a little too close to Mr. Powell.
I quite like it. I quite like that. It's quite 40s, 50s looking. I quite like that. The nipped in waist.
I don't think it's a look that would appeal to a lot of English men. I'm not sure.
No,
I'm not sure.
they may have a problem wearing
Could
that.
we see another? This is all city, isn't it? There's nothing outside
I
the
think
city.
I was expecting something a little bit looser and more
Well, it
relaxed.
might come.
If I was somehow,
Are the-
I don't know why, but I
Are
just
these knitted? I don't think the sleeves are knitted, are
No, I
they?
don't
It's
think
just a
so.
two-tone
looks like
garment.
it's
It's
Is
like
it
two
too-
panels.
God, I hope they
yeah.
aren't.
You are?
I really
They
hope
look-
they're not.
What
knitted.
is it?
Knitted, yeah.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
that would actually
If they're
be-
knitted, it's just that's just got on the sale rack at the end of the season, looking
I would
forlorn,
love it.
You're
sort
so
of written all over it. If it's
you're
knitted, I
so
don't think
right,
it is.
Yeah. No,
I don't.
think
It looks too
no,
structured to me.
it's too sharp for knitting, I would have thought. So we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say yes, it's two types of fabric, or at least two colours. Now that is more a traditional sort of jacket, I guess. What is happening down the
But
front?
I don't know.
Is it?
It's just a panel, I think, and a zip
Is
to
it
must
the
be a
one
concealed
side.
zip.
Oh, I
right?
thought it was an open coat with.
It looks like
But
it's a
it's not.
side zip.
It's a what?
Side
It looks like
zip
there's a
here
side
that goes
zip
down.
going on.
Right.
I believe.
So that's part of
Okay.
the jacket. That.
Panel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Panel.
Must be.
I think so.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
that's
good.
what it,
Yeah, I
it's
think I
reading
can see a
60s
zipper.
flight
Do you think it's
type.
concealed in the
neck.
collar? So it's one of those
Right.
that flaps over and
Yeah, I
then you
think
zip
you're
up
right.
over there.
Gosh.
A bit Star Trek for me, that.
A bit. Yeah.
A lot.
Still no colour.
No, it's very formal.
I mean, does
That's okay.
Dior Homme use colour? It's not really
No.
renowned for colour.
No,
it's kind
that's
of
true.
greys, browns,
This is the
black.
jacket that they've put in. This will sell, this jacket,
Yeah,
loads.
I
And
think
this is
that's
what
great.
men that won't commit to all the other tight nipped in waist, this is their
This
this
is-
is the
this-
jacket
It's got
they're
the
going to run
hint
out
of
the store
the-
with.
It's got the suggestion of the
This
bow.
will
bomber
sell
jacket.
massively, this jacket. It's got, it's a safe option. If you want a
Totally
bit of
safe.
Dior, but you don't want to commit to that nipped in feminine, this is your jacket.
That's better.
That's going to run out of the stores.
But is this what a house of the stature of Dior? Is this what it should be doing?
No,
Because
No.
you know,
no,
we've seen
No.
that
No.
a fair few times.
no, you shouldn't, no.
This is what I'm a little worried about. When we get to this point, I think earlier zips, all right,
Fair
they
enough.
they make you think. Belts, they make you think. But this,
I
I think you're right.
I
I disagree with you. I
Oh, right.
disagree with you. Yeah, because I think it's like I was saying earlier. It's just a nudge forward. It's a Harrington jacket, but the belt on the bottom there just gives it that little nudge. It's not trying to reinvent something.
No.
It's just trying to sort of progress it, but steadily
To
progress it
lead
rather.
men slowly
Exactly.
towards it without
Exactly.
frightening them.
And
Yeah.
maybe I wonder sometimes if it's the styling's been pretty much the same, it's been pretty much monotonous, so it kind of could possibly detract from the fact that that could be a little bit more consumer friendly. Just looking at it here with this harsh
I
black.
think men are much
Well-
more brave now. If you go into to shops like Topshop, I'm amazed at. I look and I think, wow, do young guys wear that stuff now? Men are much more experimental now and much braver. It's kind of like in the 70s when lots of men wore pink shirts and yellow, and those colours are all coming back again, and men are much braver, and I think that's in a good way. I think this is going a bit too 80s austere, like, and I feel like this is going back instead of forward. We were kind of going forward, and colour was coming back, and it was just a bit more exciting. This is going a bit safe and 80s art director again. Like, I don't see people that dress like this. I see a few young hairdressers maybe, but I don't see people dressing like this.
Oh, I think there are a lot of men around the world of quite, not all young magazines who would like to wear that, frankly. What I think is interesting when we're thinking about menswear generally, I think what is happening, and I think long overdue, is men are thinking more in terms of fashion than style.
Yeah.
They want to do something which makes a fashion statement.
Totally.
I think.
Totally. If you're going to invest in a
statement.
Invest in what?
If you're going to invest in something from Dior, which, let's face it, is expensive.
No.
It won't be cheap. Like,
It's one thing men taking risks. It's another thing kind of pulling that off.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, you can say, well, I go into some of the department stores in London and I look at what the buyers have been buying in there, and I just think,
why?
Yeah.
What is this all about? It's I think that some people might see it as a good thing that kind of younger guys are taking risks more, but I think that's kind of always happened, really. But I think it's how you take those risks and whether you're able to actually pull that off. Some people can really kind of be quite extrovert and pull off a look, but the amount of times I remember going on holiday a few years ago and seeing all these guys from places like Huddersfield and Newcastle, and they were wearing kind of like Compton Street fashion 4 years later, as once it's filtered down to the mainstream, these horrendous kind of gelled hairstyles and sort of fake sort of vintage, and it was just like, pants up the legs, and I'm just going, what's happened to you? Stop it. Do you know what I mean? Just
that's the thing, it has to be
Yeah.
genuine, doesn't it? If you're going to take a risk like that, it has to be something that's come from you rather than something that you've been led to believe you should wear.
Once it filters to the mainstream, it just ends up looking just disastrous.
Well, if this is not I mean, a white shirt, black tie, black pair of trousers, and a grey jacket, it's kind of, to me, it's like, it's just, it's not really individual. I can't.
Well,
doesn't excite me. This look, some of the other looks I like, but this look, I just wouldn't be interested in.
this is what I meant when I said men are more interested in fashion and less frightened of fashion. They want to take elements and put them together. More and more, I think, to make their own little statement. There's very little leeway to do that.
No.
It's very much you buy the look.
The look, that's
You can't really mix it with other things.
It's also not.
I don't think that's the mood at the moment.
It's not the mood at the moment.
And it's not inviting anyone who thinks that perhaps, and by not just a younger guy, but I think there are a lot of older guys who want to sort of flesh out their style.
Yeah,
and it doesn't invite someone who thinks, I like the whole mayhem around Dior at the moment. Maybe I want to buy into it. Maybe I want to have a little part of it in my wardrobe. But so far, it's a little bit. Some of it's not really inviting someone like that in to say, "Come and delve into us a bit."
I'm an older man. They don't come much older. If I wore that, I'd feel I were going on stage. That I was part of.
A pantomime.
A pantomime, or the Trapp family, the Von Trapp family, or something. I just think it's too much like a uniform, and it too much is a uniform, because there's not much you can do to personalise a look like that.
It's the Dior uniform, isn't it? Like
I think
the Dior people that wear Dior want to look like they're wearing Dior,
Yes.
and that goes from sort of Karl Lagerfeld down to the hair and the makeup teams. They want if they go for that look, they stick to that look. They don't. You never see a bit of.
Yeah, but that
Deviation.
approach is being done by Eddie Slimane, which is a very different story
but
to this, I would have said.
Yes.
I don't think it's such a different story.
You don't?
No. It's a black shoe, a black trouser and a grey jacket.
But
And a white shirt and a black tie. I don't see
I think it
a
is
massive
a little bit
difference than when Hedy did it.
Oh, well, I think what he was doing was, it was so relaxed and confident, and easy. This is all quite uptight, I think.
I think this looks really a bit hardcore.
But who's their client? Who do they want to be wearing it? Because,
God knows.
but you were saying about these people who, you know, want to take risks with their style and mix and match. I don't think that's who they're after and who can afford this as well. Like,
Yeah, well, it'll be very expensive.
Yeah.
Sure. Gary?
I don't like this particular look, but I think on the whole it's trying to be kind of modernist. It's very cold.
Yeah.
It's a very cold collection.
It's a
There's
good
nothing
one.
kind of warm about it.
It's a good one.
But but I like it. I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that Eddie Slimane did, to me it's like one of fashion's sacred cows, the way people sort of raved about it, and this guy's completely transformed the world and he's tapped into popular culture. I mean, the guy, you know, he was dressing razor light. You know, it's like it hasn't aged that well. Do you know what I mean? I'm not. I don't buy that myth that a lot of people really bought into. This, looking at this now, to me, kind of looks almost like 90s Jill Sander or Prada Sport or something.
Totally.
And
it's the same person that buys it.
Yeah.
Well, and in
that's
a sense,
It's a stamp.
But I like the fact, I like modernism, I like utilitarian clothes, I like that sort of like I say, I don't think that's what we're looking at right now.
No,
It's the
we're
best
not.
example of it,
No.
but nevertheless, I kind of get where it's coming from with this, and I don't think it's something where you have to wear the entire look. I mean, what we've seen so far may be, but I'm sure, like that Harrington that we saw earlier, where it just had the little belt detail on it. It's obvious that the belt is the signature for this collection, isn't it?
Yes,
That's what's running right the way through it. That's the thread.
Well, you see, I think what it's about is control. These are very controlled clothes, and I'm not sure. I still have what we saw. I still have in my mind's eye what we saw in London. And I think there's a sense of freedom and freshness that isn't about tightening things in. But let's see, we're longing to see some colour. Let's see if we're going.
But maybe it's also him. He's not going to do what Hedy did anyway. He's got to put his own.
Say it again.
He's got to put his own
Oh,
stamp
absolutely.
and branding on it now and make his
Of course.
own noise. And
Yes,
this is the way of doing
absolutely.
it.
I did love the David Bowie book that Eddie did, though. The photographic book.
Yes.
I like that much more
Actually,
than the clothes.
his photography is marvellous, I think.
Incredible.
Marvellous. I can
amazing.
understand why he wanted to spend some time doing that.
That book was
In
incredible.
fact, I didn't think he'd come back, to be honest. I thought, right, he's moved away from clothes, making clothes, designing clothes. He's going to do other things. So it's quite interesting that he has come back to some. Okay.
Dare I say it, but this looks like Joey from the early ways Essex. It's just like what he wears, like this sort of zip right up, the kind of sportswear, but not.
It would fly off the shelves if they got him in one of those.
It's like a posh shelf.
I hate to tell you that.
Oh dear, oh dear. Quick, move on,
Exactly.
move on. Oh, we're gonna have
That's better. The collar, it's a bit more interesting.
I've got to agree with James on that last look.
yes.
We had the same conversation with the Thierry Mugler
Yes.
show the other night, where
Yes.
it's like a straight track top, and it's,
Yeah.
if you're going to
Dangerous.
wear a track top, adopt one. Don't buy a fashion one. Do you know
I
what I mean?
agree. It's dangerous territory. These are nice, but you know, they're awfully, what should we say? They're for very clean, well-behaved boys. Seems to be so many of these clothes.
There's no
And I don't think boys want to be
personality and
particularly
noise.
well-behaved, really, at
No.
this point. At this
They're not
point
sexy.
in their slow evolution, you know, because boys are all much more slowly than women, I think.
What's scary about what I'm seeing is this to me is we're going backwards. And I'm not talking about the design. I'm just talking about the colour and the shapes and
The two-tone
it was
sleeves.
starting to get a much more interesting fashion for men again. Again, like if you go, a lot of the high street stores, a lot of the stuff is much, not feminine is not the word, but just much more fashion and you know, the fabrics and the colours, and this to me is going back stage. I don't want to be taken back there. I want to, you know, I'd rather, if I'm going to be taken back, I don't want to be taken back to the 80s. I'd rather be taken back to the 50s, the 60s, or the 70s.
More
But the
flamboyant.
80s, I do not want to go back there. And that's not where I want to go if I'm buying clothes.
Do you not think that's subjective though, because we grew up in the 80s?
Yeah. It's
like when, you know, I can have a romanticism about the 60s and 70s, but then people who grew up in those eras, I can't believe they're bringing that back, you know, like, we think it's like...
But the 80s, I don't think for men was a great, you know, like the Armani suits and the sort of Sophia Munch, which is quite like, you know, the relaxed kind of Armani suits, the cut out and Duran and all those kind of suits was never, the 80s wasn't to me a good era for men.
All women.
It wasn't.
All women.
I think it's the best.
Think it's
But from the point of view... Not from the point of view of necessarily high fashion, but certainly from the point of street fashion. Street fashion really kind of, I mean, you had punk in the late 70s and Westwood and all that stuff, but the 80s, all the best street fashions were born out of the 80s, without question.
That's interesting.
Because you had, you know, you had two-tone, you had early hip-hop and electro, you had all that stuff that came through from that, you had all the football terrace stuff, acid house.
I'd rather wear all that than
And let me just say this.
This to me is very Factory Records. It's very New Order. It makes me think of that stuff. You know, I mean, but I'm a big fan of that stuff.
Can I just say this? I wore Armani suits in the 80s, and they were marvelous clothes. They made you feel so relaxed and right. They understood what the body was all about. Armani suits are one of the great high points. In the 80s, certainly, one of the great high points of men's fashion. And that might be considered fighting talk, but I really, I lived through it. I know, I wore them. Although I bought nothing but Armani.
And Colin, it's interesting because what is it now? What today? What is the equivalent?
I don't
know.
Well,
there's so much. I suppose we have so much. So it's sort
there's so many designers
that was such a phenomenon
now.
Then.
I think there isn't a consensus any more than there is really.
But it was so hugely embraced by men. The whole the phenomenon.
The unstructured suit, you know, with virtually no lining, just a little bit across. So it was the most marvelous feeling of freedom. I lived in Italy then, where, you know, and they were perfect for hot weather, and the colours were just right. These lovely taupes and pale.
The colours were sensational.
But it's funny your perspective on it, because I was a 14-year-old kid wearing Armani, but I just wanted the logo. I just wanted the eagle, and I love the fact because it had GA on it, so we shared the same initials. So I was kind of, I just wanted Armani all day long. So
I love it.
I had an ego even back then.
I see you ladies, you're getting to know why men really buy clothes. This is, we all have our agendas for buying clothes.
Films and I hate to say it, a celebrity, men are quite susceptible to that in the nicest possible way, because they will see it and they will think to themselves, well, they'll see was it Wall Street and Michael Douglas's whole madness around him, and you know, we've got somebody in the papers looking fabulous in a suit, and they will see that and use that as a reference point and think, oh, actually I can put that look together and I can do that.
I have to say, I haven't tried on an Armani suit for years, because they wouldn't fit me now, because he always I mean, the new ones is good.
I'm sure they'd find something.
I've still got a lot of my clothes, not all. Actually, quite a lot of them were stone in Italy, so I used to sort of let people stay when I was back.
And they took it.
Well, your friends
nothing to do with clothes. But when it got very, very hot, I used to come back to England. And I used to let friends stay, and of course friends always let friends stay, and suddenly your lovely Armani leather jacket isn't there when you come back in the autumn, and no one knows anything about it. Doesn't matter.
I have virtually all my clothing that I bought from when I started buying fashion from, you know, I'm 43 now, and I started buying Westwood when I was 16, and I have virtually every piece of clothing I bought. I have it all. I have the hats, I have the shoes,
You're lucky.
Everything.
Yeah,
mine's disappeared.
Looking at this now, I feel like I'm not feeling like there was something special in so far that I've seen that I think, oh, I'm going to keep that forever. I'm not seeing something that's going to make me rush to Dior and make me think, right, I'm going to love that and I'm going to keep that for the next 20 years. I'm not seeing so far anything yet.
Can I just say one thing? You're not a teenager anymore.
I know, that's the problem.
No, that's it. You know, when you're a teenager, you fall madly in love with looks, items of clothing, these shoes.
No, but
Yeah.
that doesn't
But
have
I
to
fall in
stop
love
just
with
because
other-
you're
with
growing
other-
up.
But
Like,
also you
What do you
develop
fall
a
in love with?
style.
James is going to tell us what he
Yes.
what do you
Like
fall in love with?
I fall in like any sort of Saint Laurent from the 70s, vintage Saint Laurent. Virtually every piece I would want, and I've fallen in love with that now.
Right.
But that's
Okay.
a reaction in me to the skinny suits that we've been seeing for the last
Okay.
5 years. I'm sick of seeing skinny suits and short little skinny jackets, and everybody looks the same to me. From Hoxton to Croydon to Bournemouth, every man under 30 looks exactly the same. You go into the NatWest Bank, the sales assistants are wearing skinny suits, the tellers are wearing skinny suits. Everywhere you go to a club, everywhere you go, the men are all looking the same. So that's why I was so excited to start seeing colour come and pinks and yellows.
Well, yeah, but
You know, because it was a bit more excited. So I'm doing everything to not wear the skinny.
okay.
Everything in my power.
I was reprimanded the other day for putting too much of my own personal spin on things. So I was trying to be you reprimanded me. Yeah, at the end of it, you were saying to me about. You asked me, and I said, "There's nothing in that collection I personally would wear." And you went, "It's not about your personal taste,
Well,
Gary."
no, but he was reminiscing.
Yeah.
He was reminiscing. Anyhow, I think there's some disagreement coming on.
well, no, I'm kind of agreeing
Oh.
with. No, sorry, yeah, no, I've just been wanting to say for a while. Thank you, Colin. I've been wanting to say, like, this collection for me is everything that I was expecting menswear to be. Incredibly boring, bland, and disappointing. Like, no, but I was saying to Natalie, like, you know, I got asked to do the illustrations for Menswear, and I was like, oh god. You know, obviously I was really looking forward to it, but I was expecting this. You know, we've spent hours talking about a sloping shoulder and a belt. Whereas, you know, you're like chatting, like saying you've seen lots of other like wonderful collections with like, I've been so shocked and impressed with all the colour I've seen and all the texture and some really interesting silhouettes. And this in comparison, I will never remember this. Like, this is the only thing now that I see that is quite exciting. Like, I think this, I like that. But I'm clutching at straws to like it.
It is starting to become quite one-dimensional, this show now.
But I think this panelling, this block now adds a little bit of, makes this print work a little bit.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I do like that graphic. I've got an attachment to that graphic for whatever reason. And,
well,
I really like this. This is the favourite.
Just agreeing with you. I think you're right. There's been such beautiful texture, and as James saying, such amazing colour. I felt like I've been in a sweet shop, and this is a little bit. It's fine in the beginning, a few looks, but now it's just getting a little bit monotonous.
well, there's a glimmer of hope on the.
Yes.
On the
It looks as if there's something bright coming out.
No, I think this is the gold. This is the one that's working for me. This look.
I'm trying to remember the name. There's a Parisian artist, a contemporary artist who does these, where they play with perspective. They'll take a photograph of something, but it looks like it's kind of in the foreground, but different elements of it are in the background. I don't know if I'm making sense.
How is it done? Is it done with photographs?
Yeah, it's done photographically,
with
but
mirrors?
it makes me think, it's like, so it really plays with this idea of perspective.
Right.
So it'll be a symbol like that looks like it's in the foreground, but different elements of it have been painted into the background, so that, and I wish I could remember the name of the artist now, but it kind of reminds me of that.
Right, well, let's see if the next one's coming.
If I remember the name, I always forget artist names.
God, me too, always.
Okay.
Oh God.
Oh, it's back.
Oh.
I like how that white is very strong and it's fighting against the sloped shoulder, but I kind of like that. It's something a bit more interesting going on to me anyway. Maybe, it's a sloped shoulder. But then the lines to me look a bit like a corset. It looks.
It looks like this brown.
It looks like a corset.
I was thinking straight jacket, but it is a bit.
I think
you would
really
need
cheap.
a six-pack.
And they could almost be the cups of the bra part.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. That's
or the little
you know?
face. It's just.
I'm sure that if we were there, it wouldn't look like that. It's just that we've got it frozen. I think if he was moving, it would be much freer. I think.
What is the fabric? Like, is it £2?
I think it's knitted, isn't it?
I love how the waistbands have gone higher because me personally, again, personal thing, I'm sick of being at work, say on set, and you see every single guy's underwear. You just spend the whole day saying, please put up your trousers. I don't want to see everybody's underwear on set. So thank God the waists are coming higher again.
Well,
because I just don't want to see everybody's Calvin Klein.
We've had enough set, you know.
How long
now? Yes.
I'm sick of it.
Gary will know, how long is it since they first started showing that they were buying Calvin Klein, whatever.
Wasn't it?
Was it Marky Mark all that time?
Going back to be early 90s.
And it hasn't stopped.
It's amazing that any looks lasted
stopped.
that long, really.
But I think it's time for the waistbands to come up from there.
Well, we're getting there.
Tell that to a teenager, it won't work.
Body, you know,
or a lovely little bum.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I
definitely
it's very true.
Don't want to see anyone.
Okay, let's see some more. I think we must be coming to the end. Ooh. Wow.
You see, that looks like the Chanel hula hoop bag that's been plastered onto his
I think
jumper.
it looks fabulous there, but imagine what happens when you're sitting down and it all crumbles and changes, or when you're, I don't know, driving a car or something. I mean, it looks lovely there. It looks so geometric and so strong and so confident.
Who did the Sistine Chapel?
Michelangelo.
Angelo. Didn't he? That's kind of like the circle of life.
All it needs is the man.
Yeah, all that is.
In the middle.
That looks very Michelangelo.
You think of Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah,
he was in the sphere.
Leonardo. That reminds, taking me there. That circle and the triangle within it.
Now that makes it interesting, actually. When you put it that way, I'll look at it differently.
It's very interesting.
It's an AA symbol. It's Alcoholics Anonymous symbol. It's the 3 legacies of Alcoholics Anonymous.
All right.
Do you not think it's a bit mean in terms of actually as a print though? Like, you know, just these very thin lines. It feels like it's not being very brave. If you're going to have that on there,
it's like we had to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
We better do something that's looking a bit
I would love
boring.
it to be like thicker, because I was drawing this and I was like, oh god, like whatever I was putting on there, it was just really not making, like that's their statement. This is their statement, and it's. If it had been like a brush mark, it could have added like a real contrast.
Yeah.
But
someone's having an in-joke there. Someone's gone on the wagon and they're having an in-joke. That's what's going on here.
Who is the customer of Dior? Like, who buys? Who will be excited for this to come out, and who will be running into the store to get it? That's what I have trouble.
I don't know.
Is it people that? Is it like 18 to 25-year-olds that are in fashion? Is it?
I doubt if they can afford it.
Yeah,
maybe 30.
I don't know who buys it.
Recovering drunks.
I don't know. Let's see if they do anything more with this geometric. Oh dear.
You see, it's so repetitive.
No, but it's gone to navy.
Yeah, at least we've got that.
We've got a bit of colour.
Yeah.
But it is so repetitive.
Because there was some white in the background at some point.
So basically we're having a rerun of the first half.
Yeah, but now really mixing it up.
It's completely a rerun.
I do love how long the trousers are, that they've been left like long and quite baggy and a bit broken up around the ankle. I quite like that. I wouldn't wear it myself again, but I like it to see that because it's something interesting.
But we've seen this actual slide, haven't
I think
we?
no,
it was black.
Navy now, isn't
This
it?
is a navy.
Well, that makes one realise how very controlled the statement is.
If you're feeling crazy, you can wear it in blue instead of in black.
Wow.
You're feeling wild.
Push the boat out, get it in grey.
Maybe he's just toying
Go on
with
then,
us.
let's
Keep
on.
going. Yes.
Oh gosh.
Oh. I mean, it's great to have
Consistency.
a very clear view of what you want people to wear, but it's just
You've
too
got
tight.
I don't like being
too tight.
His buttons are back.
I don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I buy a lot of clothes. I love clothes, but I don't like being told what to wear. And this whole show is that the hair's exactly the same on every model. Maybe if they, this is from a beauty perspective as a hairdresser, if they had different types of models, with some with bits, some with messy hair, some with long, to sort of show me as a customer, which I am, how this can look different. Like, all the men look the same, all the boys are incredibly beautiful, slick hair, very shiny, beautiful skin, and I just feel like I all look like everybody else.
But
I don't want
maybe
to look
that's
like
their
everybody
client.
else.
Is that what the
They've lost me as a client, and I think they'll lose a lot of people being forced to see this image as that on every single image. is off-putting.
But
to
a lot
me.
of the
I don't-
catwalk collections do that. They have
I
the
know
same
that.
hair,
Yes,
the
they
same
can be very
makeup. I think
focused
the
indeed.
clothes,
I
think the
though, but there's
women's
more
wear is-
variety in the clothes,
Yeah.
or a bit more of a story being told. Whereas this is this is like a tweet.
Yeah.
It's quite concise.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like if they had thrown in just one of those jackets in a really bold colour, and you know, like the sort of women's show, if they do all black and then they throw in a bright red dress at you know, it just picks you up a bit.
Or even if they'd followed you, they introduced the red on
It
the
is
print,
exactly
like you
the
could
same.
have
Really,
pulled
we
that.
in
have,
another colour.
we have seen all this, haven't we?
But it's
Yeah,
a blue.
but it's
I
amazing.
fear we haven't. I fear
think
that
that's
this
blue.
is just it's a blue.
And the zip is now
Yeah, what I'm
for
saying
words
is that
before
it's
I
not
think
telling
it's
us
on
anything
no,
new.
no.
No, it's not.
Oh,
Ah.
okay. But how awful that this is what gives you some vague excitement. It's,
Wow.
I don't think. Well,
It's
I
fine.
don't know if anyone's getting excited.
Well,
Is
no,
that-
It's just that
It's a change, isn't it?
it's taking it on in a slightly different direction.
Yes.
You know, when we were saying earlier about it's kind of it was becoming a little bit one-dimensional. Now you've got a completely different silhouette happening.
Is that a jean?
He's
You know-
moving towards something a little more sportivo.
I
isn't
can't.
he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't
I
say
think
that's.
that's-
Cozy.
Is that jeans? It's jeans, isn't it?
Oh.
And a sort of casual.
Could be.
It's like a sort of bombery
Yeah,
style jacket.
let's see it.
Jacket's
Fun,
Yeah,
isn't
good.
it? It's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty. It's fine.
Not.
I like
not,
that.
Not sold on
Really
that.
It's like a
the
posh
neckline
parka.
and that.
Yeah.
Well, it's very much ski resort now.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
that we're
I
saying.
love a posh parka. Though.
Yeah,
I,
that's a
Would
posh
you wear
parka.
that?
I love an expensive handbag, but
yeah.
I don't know
It is a posh
About the belt?
if that is
If you
it.
took the belt off, though, that's
It would be
that's
quite
all
nice.
right.
You know what? I was
It
actually
is small.
trying a jacket on yesterday that was belted. I quite like something that's waisted, but I'm just not.
Can someone tell me what that is?
So we've got
I
our.
feel like it's a leather or
It's
something.
like a shiny.
It's leather.
It's not.
Yeah, I think-
It's not patent.
I think it's
It's patent.
This is a bit
It's
where
kind of-
this is a bit where I step back and let other people do the talking.
Yes, well, I feel a bit. I know where you're coming from. I'm not at all sure about that. See if it goes on and develops, should we?
I think that's the bit that when
Oh, we asked for tech.
you know what you were saying, James, about
They
how
want
they'll,
that-
they'll have all black and then they'll
Yeah,
put in the colour at the end.
Yeah, that was the
that was the punch.
Yeah,
there.
that was
I'd like
it.
to
Right.
see more of that and that's been developed. Like,
Well, it might be. We're not
No,
there
shine,
yet.
Okay.
Although it does seem.
shininess,
not-
shininess
not-
shouldn't be developed.
No.
Do you know what I must say? When
No,
I look
feel like
at
there's-
Keep
when I
moving.
look at men's shows online or wherever I see men's shows, and you see men in swimming trunks with their chests out and a see-through shirt, I don't understand that. So really, I'm understanding this a lot more than a lot of men's shows. I think a lot of men's shows are way too camp, way too over the top. At least these clothes, if I had to buy something from there, if I had a gift certificate for Dior, I would find something in this collection.
Oh, I'm sure you
that I
would.
wear,
Yes.
for sure.
Oh, I think we
Whereas
would. All
a lot
of us
of other shows I've been seeing give me a £10,000 gift certificate. I'd be stuck. I'd be
Right.
nothing. So
I
at
hope
least
they
there's
heard
stuff
that.
that I could get.
I'm
there.
with him. I'm seconding everything he
Yeah.
just said. I'm
Right.
with him completely on
Okay.
that.
Right, that's
very
good.
Staples, like Aspden, perhaps.
Actually, I think we have been a little, perhaps too harsh.
No,
Maybe.
well,
Keep moving, please.
I think it's
Why?
the nature of the collection.
I
though,
love
you-
that jacket. I mean, that's fantastic. That doesn't look like the rest of the collection to me. That's a completely different man, and I would wear that totally. And I think a lot of guys would wear that much more than a nipped-in, waisted, belted, zipped.
Yeah.
That's much more acceptable for a lot of men to wear. That whole silhouette, that whole jacket.
I wonder what we'll feel when we see the white one, which is belted,
Belted.
What's
which
he
is
got-
coming out
What's he got on his
behind.
feet?
Oh.
Big shoes.
Right.
That's quite nice.
I don't like that. The last one, the last one I like, but the only reason I really like the last one.
Outfit
is
41 is a
And
great.
they've got two-tone shoes actually. It's black
Oh,
with a
is that what
white
they are?
with a
Oh.
white sock.
The last one looks like a 6876 coat from the late 90s that was really popular. This is that's too much for me.
That's too
completely
much for me
feminine
as
though,
well.
this
And I'm a
one.
hairdresser. That's like way too camp
The
for
thing-
me. That
Even
white with
I
a
actually
little-
think that's quite normal, and I think
Do
some of the
you?
other pieces have been a bit camp.
But just from a practical
Well,
perspective,
the other pieces have been a bit
And
camp,
I think,
agree.
but of course, you know you're going to get the catwalk collection, and then you're going to get a bit more of a diluted version of the catwalk
Yeah.
That's so
collection on sale.
interesting.
So I'd be really interested to see what the diluted version is, because some of it will probably be quite beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's see.
That's nice.
These
Really
white...
a
nice.
white coat.
I have a horror of white coats, always have, but I think that for no rational reason, I just have never liked white coats. But I think that these look very, very nice, actually.
That's very Brian Jones, that
I tell you
coat.
what they look, yes, I tell you what they do look, they look very confident and very strong.
Do you think those are trainers now that he's wearing?
Could be.
I can't see.
I love that coat. I love the length where it hits on the knee. I love the big collar. I love it done up. I love the 6 black buttons. I love that coat. I'd buy that coat. I think it's fantastic.
Right, well,
That's
you're
where
going
his gift
to be rushing to Dior.
That's where
Outerwear.
his gift voucher's going. So there's like this white story coming through now.
It looks great there. Whether it would look so good on the streets, I don't know.
I think there's too much on there. I think
Well-
with all the buttons and the belt, it kind of overworks a little bit. Like, whereas the one before just felt
It's a
very
white
close
trench
thing.
with a black belt.
Yes, but at least the buttons,
nice,
don't appear to be gold. Or
No.
Yeah,
black.
that's true. I think the
That
black
would be-
works really,
that would
like, that's
be
the strength with it.
very-
but-
I don't think that's fair to say it's a white trench with a black belt though, because I think there's a lot more to it than that. When you're
No,
talking about clothes, you're talking about...
It's his take on
Yeah,
a
it's
trench
his take
coat.
on that, but it's
Sorry,
also,
no,
you know,
but
when you're
it's his
thinking
take.
about the detailing, the buttons, the
It's probably
fastenings.
beautifully made and exquisite, but
Am
it's
I-
his take on a trench, and I
Am
think
I
outerwear is
completely
really
mad?
important for men.
Or these looks easier for men, Joe Public, to wear than the black version with the nipped in. For some reason, this is really to be easier to wear for guys in the street than the black with the zip with the belt. The white, the opposite way round, to me reads much more casual in a way. Even though it's white, it to me seems more relaxed than the black. The black was very uptight. This, I think a lot more guys will go for.
It's more sporty.
It's more
Certainly
sporty,
more sporty.
totally, and I
And
think
it
it's
shows
much
off
more
the sleeve,
acceptable,
the
and
sported two-tone
you
sleeve.
buy into that rather than the black very uptight. I
Yeah.
think you're right, sporty.
Keep flicking over these because we're coming
the white
towards
stuff.
the- Yeah.
Bravo.
The white stuff looks a lot more contemporary.
Yes.
It looks a lot more
Fresh.
now.
Fashion.
Yes.
Fresh.
Definitely
That's
more
what it
fresh.
is.
I
It's
mean,
like
Yes. So,
but sorry.
we've just got a couple more minutes. What do we really feel? We've been quite critical, but we've changed our positions quite a bit as it's come along. I mean, is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Let's go through.
I think,
Up, down.
yeah, I
In
think
the
we
middle.
no, maybe a little bit down. I'm going to go for a down because I think we've been
Thumbs
really,
down.
really spoiled this season, and maybe I just want to continue being spoiled. So
Okay.
the last few looks spoiled me a little bit, but that was
Right.
it. Yeah.
Up, down. Up,
I give it a thumbs up.
I give it a thumbs down, apart from towards the end.
I give it a thumbs almost halfway down.
that's very interesting.
It's definitely not an up.
That's
It's definitely not a down.
very interesting.
If the white had been the start, I feel like that should have been the start of the show, then it should have just
Do you think we
grown
would
and
have been
grown.
the better
Yeah, oh my
scope?
god, absolutely.
Maybe.
I wanted.
I
I,
totally
expect,
agree with
I
you.
wanted more actually.
Yeah,
So
I feel
I think-
excited now
Yeah.
a little bit, and
Well, they always say end with people wanting more.
That's true.
So you've
but
got
I
one
wanted
more thing to
more.
say, Gary. What are you going to say? You were just about to say. No?
Yeah, I mean, it's from a personal point of view. I'm not sure there's that much that I would actually wear in it. But,
No, but that's
it's
not
not
what
about
it's
me
about.
personally. But I think it's, you know, I much prefer it to what Dior were doing, sort of 2005, 2006,
Totally.
which to me is like I say, the sacred cow that nobody can say anything bad about.
Totally.
To me, that stuff was just, I was not in.
Okay.
I didn't feel connected to that at all.
No.
Do you know what I mean? This references things that are much closer to what I personally like, and I can see a bit of a design vision with this. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not trying to take stuff that kind of scruffy kids and indie bands in Hoxton wear and try and do a designer version of it. Do you know what I mean? It's
No, that's a good point. I think that's true. Well, as you can hear, we're not entirely in agreement on this collection, and we haven't fallen in love with it, but then we don't hate it either completely. So I hope you all had plenty of things to say about it, and I'd just like to say thank you, very much
Thank you.
indeed for being passionate about it
fun.
all. Thank you.
Thank you.